Okay, so part two is we're going to have Chuck come up, and he's going to be talking on the power of mutual purpose in marriage. So if we could have a round of applause for Chuck. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dan. You're welcome. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so thank you, Dan. So, wow, what he said, that's all I want to say. Class dismissed. No, seriously, remember what happens when you share an appreciation. Remember we talked about, those of you who are with me in this journey of the dialogue process, what we learned is that when we are caught in that state of self-absorption, when we're in pain, sometimes we're in pain in the relationship, not just because of what our spouse is doing, but we're in pain because of the triggered childhood wounds and unmet needs and things that are being triggered. And anyway, we get that stuff going on in our mind, and it's in a very short time, a married couple begins to see each other as like 100% negative. I remember Frank telling me about his wife, Katie, when Katie was complaining about him going to the golf course. You know, it's like, we're going to talk about connection in a moment. Remember how central connection is. When you feel connected, everything works. When you feel disconnected, nothing works. So Katie was saying, I'll tell you exactly what the problem is. It's a 4-letter word. Golf. He plays too much golf. He's on the golf course every weekend with his friends. He works hard here in the Silicon Valley, and then he's on the golf course. And so I said, oh, really? So, yeah, that's the problem. So she went on and on about this problem being golf. At one point, Frank said, well, I'll just quit. What? I wouldn't advocate that, but hey, so he did. The next weekend, he wasn't on the golf course with his friends. He was at home. But guess where he was? He was in his garage. He was on the computer. He was in the yard. He was everywhere, but where? But with Katie, right? So the issue is not golf. The issue is that he's taken an exit from the relationship. He also stayed too late at work. See, that kind of thing. And so when we did the dialogue process, we got in touch with Frank. Frank just started sharing, and he said, you know, one thing that frustrates me is, and you know, we went through the dialogue. You know the drill. If you don't, we'll maybe come back and do that later again. So, but anyway, through what we found out through Frank, he said, when I come home in the evenings, as soon as I walk in the front door, a wave of depression comes over me. And in his relationship with Katie, it was 100% negative. No wonder he stays at work too long. No wonder he's playing golf every chance he gets. So in the dialogue process, when they got reconnected, everything shifted and changed. But the key was appreciations, what Dan just told us. If we do that, seriously, we could dismiss class and go home. Because when you say, one thing I appreciate about you, it changes your brain pathways. You get a new brain pathway every time you do it. And if you're thinking of 5 things before you go to bed, and if you share 2 or 3 of those, now Sandy and I had a rule, we shared 3 things we appreciated each other before we go to bed, right? Changed our relationship. Because most couples, even when they're in the worst part of self-absorption and disconnection and pain, 80% of their relationship is good. It's never more than 20% that's bad. It's just they don't see that anymore. All they see is the pain I'm in. So let's that be a lesson to continue the appreciations. I like 10. I got 10 fingers. I can think of 10 things I'm thankful for. And I'm going to start with that 5 things about Sandy that I appreciate. Because I'll tell you, if I don't say it, I won't see it. But the more I say, the more I see. And the more I say that I appreciate, guess what? The more that encourages her, not only encourages her, motivates her to live up to what I'm saying. Why? Because she's being acknowledged and appreciated. So it's pretty powerful stuff. So I was thinking on the way, my drive here today, I was thinking about the book of Ephesians, how, and I was just praying, Lord, as couples, what we need most of all is you. And I don't want to be just simplistic in saying that, but I want to say, Lord, what we need is you, because if you don't empower these tools, if you don't breathe on these tools we're using, they're nothing. But if I'm walking by faith and God is with me and I use a tool and I express an intention of love toward you, God will meet me in that, and I'll feel that love, and I'll be empowered in that love and in that action toward you. So, but if, in the book of Ephesians, Paul, I just imagine him being shipped away in prison. And, before that, he was romping all over the globe, right? Literally going around the globe. But he got stopped, put in prison. And I think he had time to think about this new deal that God was doing called the ecclesia, the church, which is not necessarily all that we've made it today. It was more of you go to a town, there's a group of leaders, you just co-opt that leadership team, lead them to the Lord, all of a sudden they're the elders of the city, right? The ecclesia was a marketplace thing. It wasn't four walls. But anyway, Paul had a chance to think about this, and so much that he revealed to us in the book of Ephesians. You think about it, if you do an x-ray of the book of Ephesians, it started with Jesus Christ destroying the wall between Jew and Gentile. And it was with that thing where he broke down the wall, and he says, Paul says that God is bringing everything together under one head, even Jesus Christ. So as he's doing that, that's what's happening right now as we speak. And so we say, okay, we find expressions of that. We need some expressions of that in our government, right? In our country. We need some expressions of that unity in the church where there's division. Well, Paul addressed it, Jews and Gentiles. Then he addressed the religions. And by the way, I believe in a revival that will come that will take a whole religion and transform it. Not that we have to win every single Muslim all at one, one by one, but God would come in and the whole system would be transformed and people would come to Christ that way. So he's in that process of doing that. And, for years I read the Bible, read that and said the Lord's Prayer from the time I was in school. We used to say it in school. Yeah. I'm that old. But we would say it. And I always thought, well, when we pray the Lord's Prayer, we say, may your kingdom come, your kingdom come on earth as it is, and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I used to do this one time we go to heaven and we'll be in the kingdom, but it wasn't about that at all. It was about bringing heaven to earth. And so as we see God in that process, in the biggest picture, and then the areas of physical healing, the areas of relational healing, the areas of political healing, the areas of financial healing. Now we come to the marriage, and we're on the winning side. If we just stay with God, He will bring our marriage to that place where He wants it. And the problem is that we don't see it all at once, and we falter, we give up. So let me just encourage you, along with the appreciations, to take the promise of God. What has God promised you regarding your marriage? And claim that promise. And instead of looking at the facts and the story you're telling and all that, look at the promise and say, Lord, and every night before I go to bed, I have communion. And sometimes Sandy's with me. Sometimes she drifts off while I'm praying, right? That's okay. That helps her sleep well. So, but I declare with that communion, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And that's after I've prayed for my entire household, which includes some of you. Some of you are on the list that I know personally, I pray for. So I'm saying that God's doing it. We're on the winning side. So let's listen to the Lord, because right here, and then in the book of Ephesians, so many of those other things. Like I used to read, we have all these spiritual blessings, every spiritual blessing in the heavenly place. I used to think that's a great doctrine, right? Then I realized when I was praying for someone who had a problem with his jaw, wait a minute, there's a spiritual blessing right here for that. Those spiritual blessings are provisions we need. When I was at a point in where my marriage was, I was wondering, will Sandy and I even make it? Can I even make it through this? I reached and said, no, there's a spiritual blessing here for me. There's a provision God has for me. See? So I want to encourage you to put the Lord in the center of your relationship, because I used to think it's God first, then Sandy, my wife, and then my children. No, it's God and God. And that relationship spills over to everything that I do, right? So don't separate it. Don't separate your marriage from God. One thing I've desired of the Lord, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord, to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple. Inquire for what? Answers to what I'm needing right here. Beauty of the Lord. When you see the beauty of his countenance, when his face shines upon you, and you see just the absolute beauty of who he is and his acceptance of you, you will never settle for lesser things, lesser choices. Tim was talking today about lesser choices we make. See, and he will always, as I shared last week with the doves that I saw, he will always, if I'm wanting to go on with him, he will always lead me to her. If I want to have a good sexual life, he will always say, you have to do the work to connect emotionally, then it will all work for you. But there's no shortcuts to that. Okay? All right. So today, what was I talking about, Graham? Do we have a slides? There we go. So today we're talking about the power of mutual purpose. And I want to say this is a very powerful tool that is in the book, Crucial Conversations. This is a different form of it. I've revitalized it. I think in some ways made it a little better. But mutual purpose in marriage is something that where we get tangled up when we have cross purposes, when we're not on the same page with purpose. And so mutual purpose in marriage is an extension of feeling connected with our marriage partner, right? Okay, you got to do it for me? Okay. So the safe conversations, dialogues that we learned, those dialogues enable us to talk without criticism, to listen without judgment, and then to connect beyond our differences. People who get separated because of irreconcilable differences miss the point. Those differences were never meant to be reconciled. They were meant to be brought together in a connection beyond the difference, so that the relationship is enriched greatly by those differences. All right. Every time I do that, that means I'm okay. So when we feel connected, everything works. And when we don't feel connected, nothing works. And there's a little video that I want to show you right now. Connection is our deepest desire, and losing that connection is our deepest fear. And remember the still face experiment we watched, where when the baby felt that disconnection, the anxiety happened. And we saw that that's what happens in all of our relationships when we feel disconnected. Here's another example of that from the comedian Michael Jr.
Yo, comedian Michael Jr. here. As you know, I just flat out enjoy doing comedy. But one of the things I love way more than that is being a dad. Not too long ago, I'm going through some video footage, and I run into this video of my youngest daughter being born. Now, of course, I was there. I actually took the video, but I had never really experienced it from this perspective before. Now, look, we're in the hospital room. She's sticky, and she's baby and all that stuff, and she's in the middle of crying. And then I speak up. I start talking to her, and watch how she responds when she hears my voice. Okay, Portland, look, I'm right here. It's okay, it's okay. I'm right here. I'm right here. We're doing just fine. It's okay. It's okay, I'm right here. Right here. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, baby. It's okay. That was pretty awesome. So check it. A few minutes later, the nurse starts working on her, puts her pamper on her, and I'm not saying anything, and she actually starts to cry again. Then I speak up, she hears my voice, and stops crying, like again. But I want you to notice what else happens after I tell her that I love her. Portland, it's okay. It's okay. okay. It's good. It's good. It's good. I'm right here. I'm right here. I am right here. I love you. I love you. I love you. Yeah, I'm right here. I'm right here. It's okay. It's okay. That's just phenomenal. I'm like, whoa. Here's the thing. We'll always have times where we're not as comfortable, probably even to the point of tears, where life is just heavy. The key thing to do in those moments is to be still and listen for the Father's voice, because he is trying to talk to you. And I can tell you what he wants you to know is that he loves you. All you got to do is open your eyes. Happy Father's Day.
All right. So again, making the point that connection is where it's at. That brain, when your brain is there to protect you, among other things, and when you feel any sense of danger or negativity, there's a reaction that goes into your brain to where your brain stops triggering those happy neurochemicals that make you feel love, that make you feel connection, that make you feel bonding, that make you feel alive, and it just stops, and then it triggers cortisol from your adrenal gland, and cortisol just creates stress and anxiety. And so many of us live in that state of anxiety because we're triggered, and we're constantly triggered in relationships. It's not God's plan for you. It's God's plan for you to connect, make it safe so you can feel connected. And then when you feel connected, you continue to make it safe so that your feelings, your passion, feelings of full aliveness are there. And that's where it's all at. Anything short of that, and we're just patching the tire with a patch until the next blowout, right? So connection, don't settle for managing distance. And don't let, and if you're sensing like the couple I shared last week about how when she is fearful of intimacy, he's frustrated because he doesn't feel connected with her, and she constantly will say something like, let's make popcorn and watch a movie, and they'll do that, and they'll escape that feeling of disconnect through something. I'm not against movies. I do that too, right? But I'm just saying that was a way that she could feel somewhat connected, but not too close. Why? Because of the fear. Intimacy is a trauma trigger. So you're going to have issues when you're that vulnerable to become intimate. But you're on a journey. We're all on different journeys. I've been great at it, and then I've really been miserable at it. My wife used to be the keeper of the intimacy, and she would always let us know when we're not feeling connected. And then something happened, and that shifted, and now I'm feeling it, and she's saying everything's fine. And I'm saying it's not fine. And then I'll try to use one of my tools on her. She said, don't use that stuff on me. Right? Doesn't work. Because it's not safe, right? The tools are helping to get you in a safe place where the connection can happen. Okay? So let's keep that in mind. And okay, so when a conversation is safe, we can feel connected. When a conversation becomes unsafe, feeling connection is ruptured. Conversations become unsafe when there's any negativity in the form of a put down, any criticism, any tone, body language. My wife can be struggling with her phone, and I'll roll my eyes. And it's like sticking a dagger in her and calling her stupid, right? That's what she feels when I do that. Just little body language things. So symbiosis and self-absorption. Remember we talked about that last time. I think it was the last time we did a dialogue. We talked about the symbiosis. Emotional symbiosis is a disease that's affected all of humanity. And that disease is, I only see my reality. I don't see your reality. I only see my reality. And then in that reality, when I don't see your reality, I become self-absorbed and stuck in my reality. Usually it's in pain, right? So symbiosis must be dissolved, and there must be a differentiation. In other words, a person can appear different and be in the same space with you. and not be triggered and not be negative. Because conflict is simply an objection to difference. It's an unconscious objection to difference. And when someone appears different from what you projected of them, it can feel like an assault on your identity. And you'll go to war over it. That's how powerful it is. So when we recognize that my spouse is different, remember the story I told you about the young couple? They were married 3 or 4 months, and he said, "What happened? What'd they do with my wife? What's wrong? She doesn't want to watch football with me anymore." And I said, "Well, is that true?" She says, "Yeah, I don't really care for football. We always watched football. We always were doing that. And yeah, we were engaged and we were in love and we were with our friends and all our friends were watching football. I was just there, but I didn't grow up with it like you did." And see, this young man was traumatized because now he's got to spend the rest of his life with someone who doesn't like football. So I said, "Get used to it, buddy," because that's the beginning, right? But it's a good illustration of how I thought you were this, and then we react, and then we put negativity. And remember the pool between us when there's a drop of negativity? I'm not drinking that. You put sewage in there, I'm not drinking it, right? And so one drop of negativity spoils a pond. So what do? We have to keep it safe. We have to learn to use the tools. And those of you who say, "Well, they didn't work," it's because it wasn't safe. Some of you said, we have this incredible empathy and this connection. I said, "Don't use the tools. That'll just mess you up." If you're already empathetic and connected, the tools will just slow you down. But some of us need to slow down, and the tools will help us do that, okay? All right. So symbiosis and self-absorption must be dissolved by differentiation and connection. And one way to restore safety and connection is through the power of mutual purpose, all right? So here's how not to achieve mutual purpose. Number 1, compromise. We all say, well, compromise is important in marriage. Let's qualify what we're talking about here. Number 1, compromise. You both lose. That's not good. Compromise goes like this. You know, we did what you want to do last Saturday. This Saturday, I want to do what I want to do. We're going to do that. And your spouse says, "Well, all right, we'll do it that way then." See? Now we compromise, you see. Well, next weekend is my weekend. But have we connected? No. See? You can solve problems, you can resolve the conflict and not connect. But if you connect, mutual purpose is easier, and solving conflict is easier. So bulldozing, that's not a good way, because that way one person wins and the other person loses. I'm going to always insist on my way. And if you're in a relationship where one of you is very, very dominant and the other is very passive, be careful. Use a dialogue to shift that power or balance a little bit. If you tend to go along, to get along, what did we talk about last week? Remember the little if you choose to be nice rather than honest, it doesn't get you anywhere. It builds up to, I've seen wives and husbands lose their identity. 7, 8 years into the marriage, they want out because they feel like it will never change, because he'll always be the way he is, and it won't change. It can change. Just got to work the tools and change it and see it change. So bulldozing doesn't work. Number 3, giving in. That doesn't work either if I always give in. So, how do we do it? Ta-da. Oh, I got to move my fingers. I forgot. Okay. So I've given you 4 steps here. The first one is commit to a mutual purpose. The second one is to support each other's purpose behind conflicting strategies. Okay, I'm going to explain that, but most of what we're arguing about is strategies, not necessarily purpose. Then synergize a purpose that satisfies you both, and then brainstorm new strategies that accomplish this mutual purpose. So let's break it down. The first one is commit to a mutual purpose. This is very powerful. Okay. Okay, so what are some ways that you can express your commitment to mutual purpose? Click again. Here's some ideas. Just remember, conversation is very important, how you approach it. It seems like we're trying to force our view on each other at this point. You know what? I want to stay. Let's keep talking, but I want to stay in this conversation until we find something that satisfies us both. That's good. Just language, good language. Another one. Let's stay in this conversation until we find something that works for both of us. And my favorite one is when I want you to red line on your notes or yellow line or circle or underscore. If it's not good for us, it's not good for me. Wow. Okay, we're in a conflict here over what we're going to do. I'm going to tell a story about a man from San Jose who got a job offer in New York City. Okay. We're going to stay in this conversation until we find something that works for both of us, right? And then if he made the commitment, listen, if it's not good for us, it's not good for me. Wow. See, what that does, it forces you to stop. Doesn't mean the decision's made, but see, we think we got to make the decision now, so we get in a fight over it, and we get back into that tussle, bulldozing or giving in, right? Or compromise. Next. Does this mean that I won't get what I want? No, it means you get what you want. But remember the question, I don't know if you remember this one, but what's the question we ask in a relationship? I ask, what do I really want? Relationship's all about getting the love that I want, getting what I want out of this relationship. Let's say it. I want something out of this relationship. What do I want for me, for my spouse, for our relationship, and for our family? What do I want? Never what do I want just for me, but what do I want for me, but also what do I want for you? What do I want for our relationship? And then what do I want for our family? That's the first question. That's a big question. The second question is, am I acting in a way that's going to get me that? See, now that if you just ask those two questions, you're going to give your lower alligator brain a chance to settle down and flip back up into your curiosity neocortex, where you can be present and talk and be non-emotional. Now, what do I really want? I really want to go to New York. I really want to move. But what do I want for you? And what do I want for our family? What do I want for our relationship? I want my relationship to be better after we made this decision than it was before. I've made many decisions where the relationship was worse off, way worse off, after I ended up bulldozing and making the decision. You follow my drift? Okay. So the second one is support each partner's purpose behind the strategy. What's the difference between a purpose and a strategy? Someone tell me real quick. Purpose is the goal. Strategy is how do you get there. So the purpose is what I want, right? Strategy is how I get what I want. So example, one Friday night, Sandy said, let's go to the beach tomorrow. I had already decided I want to stay home and work on my home office. I'm looking forward to it all week, Saturday, right? Now she says, let's go to the beach. So how do we support each partner's purpose? Okay, the way you do it is you ask. Ask the question. Find out what each person wants. Why do you want to go to the beach? Cindy says, I want to get away, see some beauty, be inspired, and I want to spend some uninterrupted time with you. Okay, so here we're going from digging in. I want to get what I want. She wants what she wants. We're in a place where we're starting to dig in. But then I stop that and I say, why do you want to go to the beach? And I look at what she wants. And my heart says, I want that for you. I want you to be inspired. I want you to be able to get away. I want you to spend some quality time with me. So I'm going to support that purpose. Now, I haven't given up what I want, right? But she asked me, then, what do you want? Next. So why do you want to stay home and work on your office? I really want to clean out the mess, get things organized so I can feel good about going to work on Monday. Well, if you know my wife, she's a professional organizer, so she loves order And if I just clean my desk up, that's order, right? But she loves that kind of stuff. She said, I want that for you, right? So now we've talked about and we've supported each other in what we want. Now we can synergize a new purpose, a purpose that satisfies us both. There are two ways to synergize. Number one, just put them together. The second one's a little harder, because when you can't put them together, then you've got to work toward reaching a higher purpose or a longer-term purpose. We'll talk about that in a moment. Next. So we combine purpose. How could I not be excited that Sandy wants to spend some time with me and be inspired? And Sandy always gets excited about making spaces more beautiful and functional. So we combine purposes. And now for the final step. Brainstorm new strategy. So I said, how about tomorrow morning we head to the beach and spend the day? And on the way back, we pick up the hardware supplies that I need for the office. And then Sunday afternoon after church, we can work on my office. Boom. All of a sudden, we're both excited about the weekend. And I'll be honest with you, we are. Because we have a mutual purpose. But I'll be honest, there are times when we were in that compromise, okay, well, and we were never really expressing our desires, never really getting what we wanted. We were just surviving, right? So that's how the mutual purpose works. But what if your purposes are mutually exclusive and you can't combine purposes, all right? So then you got to reach for a higher or longer-term purpose. Now, here's the dream opportunity job I was telling you about. The executive from Silicon Valley was offered a job in New York City, and he had worked for this job. I mean, this was the opportunity he had spent his life working for. It was so big you can't imagine. It provided more money. It provided more responsibility. It provided more influence. Everything he dreamed about, this was right in line with that. But here, his wife was in San Jose area, right here in our area, loves her neighborhood, loves the schools the kids are in, finally got that all worked out, loves the church they're involved in, has all their friends in church. Everything's connected there. We got a big problem. So what if she were to say, there's no way, just on the offset? So you're in that place of difference now, and react. And what is conflict is an objection to difference. And now she's afraid, he's going to make that choice, and now she's digging in the trench, and no way. And then so what happens if he drags her across the country and moves the family? It doesn't bode well, right? What happens if he says, well, all right, I'll give in. And 10 years later, let's say his career's not where he wanted it to be. Whose fault is that? See how that stuff gets all messy, and when we're in that reactive mode, we blame and shame and blame each other, and it doesn't work. So here's the process. They went through the process where he said to her, I want to stay in this conversation until we find something that works for both of us. Okay, all right. Thank you, Pastor Chuck, for helping me. I'm drawing a line in the sand. If it's not good for us, it's not good for me. Wow, okay, that was the key right there. Because once he said that, now we're cooking, now we're working. Now the Lord can come and work this thing, right? So why is it you want to stay in San Jose? Well, our kids love their school. We love our neighborhood. We love our church. I love our home. Just everything about it. I just can't imagine leaving, going to New York. Well, I want all that for you. I want that for you, obviously. And so he supported that goal, that purpose, I should say. She said, why do you want to move to New York? Well, obviously, the job, more responsibility, more pay, more influence. It's everything I've dreamed about, everything that I've worked for. She said, I want that for you. I want you to live your dream. Matter of fact, I want to live my dream. I want our whole family. I want that to be family culture where each of us live our dream. Our kids live their dream. That's what I want. Okay, so now they're talking. So what happened? He started thinking, well, I never even thought of this. What if I could work remotely? Live here and work there. Or come to think of it, I was kind of stuck in this job and I wasn't even thinking, but there are probably other jobs like that, just like this one here. I just haven't been out looking. And so suddenly he was in a different place where he wasn't looking at this job as the only thing. There's other possibilities, you see. And so the more that they made it safe for each other, nobody's going to slam their foot down and make a decision, the more they were open to new possibilities. And that's when the Holy Spirit comes and led them to a job that enabled him to stay here. And he was completely satisfied. Did he get what he wanted? Absolutely. But he got what he wanted for himself, for his partner, for their relationship, and for the family. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so for those of you who are see how this works in a workplace setting, it worked really well with a toy company. There was a toy company that, it's just a note there. This toy company was started, 35, 40 years ago by two men who had a passion for making toys. One was really emphasized the toys for fun. The other one had a passion for toys for education. And their business went along just fine for so long. But then it came to a point where their business started suffering, and they realized the profits are really in the toys that are for fun, that kids buy for fun, not the educational toys. They cannot keep on making the toys for education if they're going to stay in business. And so pretty soon you could see the business over time divided into two camps, those that were for the toy side, those that were for the fun side. I mean, for the educational side, those that were for the fun side. And there was this division in the company until the company was just on the verge of splitting. True story. Just on the verge of splitting because there was this raising up of forces on both sides. Until finally one of the leader called a meeting with the other one. The two founders got together and they started this process. And they said, look, we came to this business 35 years ago, and I don't know where we're going in the future, but one thing I want to do it with you. I still want to do it with you. And so they started that process. Then they made the commitment. Well, I'll tell you what, if it doesn't work for us, it doesn't work for me. And they went down the process. Why do you want to make the educational toys? And he shared his process, his passion, and his love for that. And the other founder said, I want that too, and I want that for you, and I want that for us. Why do you insist on just the toys for fun? Well, I want to stay in business, and it's the only way we're going to survive is selling the toys for fun. And so they decided that somehow they would create a mutual purpose, and the mutual purpose was that somehow they would work out a strategy to do both. And so they made a commitment to go on a quarterly basis, and they would take some of the profits they made from selling. They would stop the manufacture of educational toys. Then they would put some of the profits they made every quarter into an account to be invested in research and development of educational toys. And as the company was profitable, then the educational process could grow. Wouldn't be as big, but it would be there. And these two people avoided a split in a company just by the use of this tool. Powerful stuff. Okay? All right, so next page. Do you have on your okay, there's your review there. But if I could look at your last page there. Here's what I want you to do. So it says, as a couple, identify an issue where you came into conflict, or maybe you're presently in conflict, and because of cross purposes. And write that down. You see where it says, our issue is. And then commit to a mutual purpose. Express to each other, I want you to face each other, look each other in the eye, and express this, and I want you to practice doing it by saying, let's stay in this conversation until we find something that works for both of us. Or if it's not good for us, it's not good for me. Make the commitment. Get practice doing it. And then support each other's purpose. The husband, you ask your wife why she wants what she wants. And then express your support for her desires. And then vice versa, wife, ask your husband why he wants what he wants. Express your support. And then synergize a purpose that satisfies you both. So either combine purposes or reach for the higher purpose or the longer lasting purpose. All right? So you've had a couple examples. You should know how to do it by now. Practice it. Go. do it. Take the next few moments and go for it. Okay, as the others are finishing, I would like to ask, is there one couple that got really excited about how this worked, that it worked so well, and you want to come up and share it with the group? Notice how quiet it got all of a sudden. You asked for a volunteer. What's that? Yeah, how to get an audience quiet. That's the way you do it. So, now, if you're not finished, bear with me, okay? Anyone want to come up and share your process? That would be pure gold for us, because it shows it's not just a theoretical couple on the board or my story. You know, and by the way, I only tell the successful ones. I don't tell the... You want to come up? You guys want to come up? Okay. Okay, let's hear it for Mark and Ruth. They are the leaders of our. They are also leading a group called Love and Respect. I think was mentioned earlier. So yes. So tell how it worked.
How it works. I didn't even know that my husband volunteered me. It was. Yeah.
So anyway, what she wanted to do was
to. We have a project at home. Then we doing remodeling the rooms for the house, and we're going to have a company in December. We had to have done the work, and you know us, we have a lot of activities in our home. We have people coming over, and Mark is filling out every day what we're going to do, inviting people to the house, doing a lot of activities. He have Bible Right Tuesday, have a Bible study Tuesday. Every day we have something going on. When I already have my list, then we're going to do that room. And I said, how are we going to do this? And this was a very good thing you mentioned this, because now we are talking about how we had to work together. And he came out with an idea.
So we just came up with a schedule that 3 days we're going to work on the room, and then another day I'm going to go for a bike ride with friends and connect. So not necessarily a compromise, but we could both get what we want and work together and be happy.
Just for a second. So with that scenario, what was a conflict has now become you're supporting this because you're getting what you want. And you're supporting that. You're putting effort there because you're getting what you want. Not because, but we give it to each other. It's like a gift to each other, and we're sailing. Okay, awesome. That is good stuff. Let's hear it from them again. Okay, so one of the issues, I'm surprised that someone didn't bring up issues of parenting, because parenting is a real, you can have cross purposes in parenting. Remember my little example last time was, one partner wants more limits. The other partner, and they're doing that because they have a piece of the wisdom. Children need limits. The other partner wants to see more love because they have a piece of the wisdom also that says children, rules without relationship drive children into rebellion. That's a formula, right? So he's looking at her and saying, those kids are they're going to go off the chart when they rebel because you're the rules. She's looking at him and saying, if you let loose on them, they're going to do that. So those are some of the impossible situations parents find themselves in. And that's a huge source of conflict and a good place to practice your mutual purpose, power of mutual purpose. So there's a couple, Lori Kate and Cody. Would you come up? Lori Kate and Cody have been, they've been following these principles since, now look at them. I have been working with them since they were engaged. which wasn't that long ago. But so why don't you just come and take the microphone and share a little bit, maybe start by talking about how the tools helped you in your, we did a venture engagement class. They were part of a venture engaged couples class, and we did learn the dialogues. So tell how that's helped you getting started, but now you bring in two families together. Both of them have spouses who were deceased. They got married, brought two families together.
All right, so yes, we're about to celebrate 4 years in a month. So it's, in spite of our age, it's pretty new. But yes, we both we're both widowed, and so we found each other. Now I'll put a plug in for Venture Middle School. We both volunteer at the middle school. It's a great dating application. So volunteer. You might meet somebody. So yes, what's interesting is we met each other through Venture Middle School, and we got to know each other, and we decided to start dating, and it just kept getting better. And so we went to the marriage course. We got married. All along, we were focused on our relationship, and that went really well. What we found out once we got married, we left something out. We did not account for our kids. So from my previous marriage, I have two adult children, two boys,
and my background is that I actually married into a blended family. And so my husband was older than my father. So if you ask us how many kids we have different answers, because I have stepchildren from the first time around. And the biggest lie that I ever told myself is, oh, I've done this before. And we have challenges. And I have a great relationship with those two daughters now. And so we were focused on our relationship, and then my son, because he was still living in the home. And so we didn't think about the adult stepchildren.
Right. So we get married, we move in together, and all of a sudden we start having issues with the blended family. So
Oh, okay. Okay. One of the things I did right away was I was really honest with myself that I did not want to move. And I was honest that it wasn't even about my son. I was like, I went through the reasons why, for me, I felt safe in my home, and I had made it my home, and I was not willing to leave. So I asked him if he'd be willing to leave his house. And so the great news was that he wasn't opposed to that. That wasn't really a compromise for him. But the thing that I think made the big difference is I could have given all the excuses about why it made sense to stay where I was, but I was honest and was like, no, I will not feel safe if I move into your house.
yeah, so on the parenting side, my second son, he has special needs growing up, and his whole life, he has a learning disability, and then he has two disorders, attention, and one that's called unspecified mood. So his entire life, we were putting him through therapies, working out things to help him learn and grow. He always, his maturity always lagged his peers. And so coming into our relationship, I have this long history of working with this young man, and I'm overboard on the love side. So his entire life, we have focused on, okay, this is the therapy we're working on. We focus on this, and we cleared away the obstacles around that so we could just do that one thing. The problem with all that is once he becomes an adult, you can't continue to control his environment like that. So, but I'm still, all of this is a love thing as a father that I've got for this young man. And she's watching this, and she sees all these truth things that are not being addressed.
And so we started the process, and early on, I fortunately heard from Pastor Tim about Ron Deal. So I started reading every Ron Deal book there is. So if you are a blended family, highly...
Share who Ron Deal is?
Oh, Ron Deal, thank you. Ron Deal is, he's the Christian author who is best known for blended families or smart families, or step families. And he is, he's not a pastor, he's a therapist of some sort. Thank you. Yeah. So the biggest thing that I was seeing was I wasn't comfortable with the lack of respect that was going on. So for me, I was starting with, look, I don't like what's happening with the respect. And then he made the suggestion we actually start going back to see the therapists that we had done premarital training with, but also Cody had seen him previously from other issues that had come up. And so what we started to do was, again, bounce ideas off of what we learned from the Ron Deal book, as well as also working with this therapist, that I wanted more limits and I wanted more rules. And of course, he has all the history. He is the biological parent. He has been through some of these things and they weren't working. So it's been quite a journey over the 4 years. But what we are, one of the biggest things that we've done is we sit down together and we put the problem in front of us. And we say, okay, how are we going to go to the next step on this? And so there's been huge progress. We're both happier with that, and the middle son is now maturing.
All right, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Just to see so many lessons in that, right? I heard the commitment to mutual purpose. We put the problem in front of us. The problem is not you and you. It's the problem is that we are together in the problem, and we will work to a solution. I heard huge respect for, you've been at this a lot longer than I have, But I also heard advocacy. I think there needs to be some of my input to this process, you see. So you see all of that. And so supporting each other's purpose, synergizing a purpose that works for both of you, brainstorming new ways. And sometimes that brainstorming means getting help, going for counseling and getting help. So you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. Okay, so take the last 8 minutes we have and just talk at your tables. And do you have a good suggestion? Just talk about how the mutual purpose, you see it working for you as a couple. All right?